3 of the Parentalist. Hey, I've just finished writing the show notes of the Parentalist, and you know what? I feel really empowered. This Wonder Woman is passionate about her children, her business, and also about paying it forward. She pays it forward and she wants to leave a legacy for her children, those around her, and also the vulnerable. So parents prepare to be inspired. Let's go. Our Wonder Woman today is a wildly successful entrepreneur. She's founded her own fashion label. She's founded her own business magazine. She's got 3 books. She's a public speaker. Welcome to Annah Stretton.
Hi, Sarah. It's nice to sort of be in your space.
Thank you. So, Anna, what is your greatest joy as being a parent?
Oh, God. I mean, I think when I answered the questions for you, I said to you that, that is such a big question because there's been so many moments that I've shared with the children and still continue to do so, even though they're 24 and 25 now. So they're kind of not children anymore. They're big people. But it's about all that stuff that happens along the way, from birth to the kinder years, to the school years, to the tertiary education, to the friendships, the connections, the highs, the lows, the challenges that occur, the successes that occur, and I suppose it's having a connection with someone at that level and knowing that they have that connection back. So there's nobody that loves me more than my children do, and there's nobody that I love more than my 2 children. That'll change. So there's nobody in this world that I would put my life on the line for except those 2 children. And that's a huge statement to make. It's a huge statement to make. I think it shows power, especially for females, the power of the connection that we have. And I'm not taking away from men, but it's the power of the connection that a woman has with her children.
I totally agree. And those memories I absolutely cherish as well. So we often have memories of our childhood as well. Is there a warm memory that stands out to you?
I don't think it's about warm memories so much. It's just about memories. And as I get older, my memory gets a little more faded. But for me, I suppose the most amusing memory is probably going to be the one or the story that I tell you. And, that's all about that, that sort of Sunday trip that we continued to make to Waimarama Beach as a family. I've got 5 brothers and sisters, but the memory that I'm going to tell you about is where there was just 4 of us on the planet at that time. But Mum and Dad would drive out to Waimarama Beach, which was about 30 minutes in the vehicle from Havelock North. We'd proceed to spend the day on the beach doing what kids do, I suppose. And I don't even know why Dad chose the beach, and that, he kind of wasn't a beach type person. And so from the point of view of, I suppose, the day out there, the ride over, the ride back, and then all the drama that would unfold on the trip back, it was about who was going to unpack the car. Dad wasn't going to be left to unpack the damn car, and on and on. On and on. No wonder some of my siblings are incessant around the way that they continue to remind people about things. But, it was this absolute phobia that Dad had, that we would all take off when the car arrived back into Havelock North and back at the home. He'd be left to unpack it with all the sandy and the beach gear for the day. And so all this debate happened. It was a bench seat car that we had. So, in amongst that, there was fights and scraps and all sorts of things that happened as us 4 children sat unrestrained on this bench seat in the back. The threats would amount to the wooden spoon smackings that were still PC in those days. You were allowed to do that sort of thing. I suppose those were the moments that I kind of reflect on. And because, sure, there was plenty of times that I was the recipient of the smack because being the oldest, I instigated a lot of the drama. But, I had a great childhood. I've got a great relationship with my brothers and sisters. And, those moments are sort of etched in your memory forever, I suppose. But, I still today cannot understand Dad wanting to even own a metallic 2-door Holden Monaro with a gold pin when he wasn't a car fanatic and he had 4 damn children. I mean, he was an accountant. It was like that. So, yeah.
It's awesome. Well, we often hold on to memories like that when we go through tough times, and we also hold on to memories, hold on to quotes as well that often motivate and inspire us. Do you have a quote that's inspired you?
Yeah, I do. I mean, there's lots of quotes that inspire me. So I sort of chop and change around those. But I suppose the one that I'm working on, or the one that I enjoy the most at the moment, is one that I included in my book, Rock the Boat, that has just recently come out this week. I think we actually officially launched it. But it's, until you've been in the deepest valleys, you can never really know the feeling of exhilaration that comes from being on the highest mountain. So it's really about knowing that failure is a very important part, not only of the business model, but also of life's model. You've actually got to do the stumbling, you've got to do the tripping and falling to actually enjoy the successes so much more. And for me, my failures have certainly, whilst they don't define me, and I don't ever let them define me, they've certainly been the building blocks of my success. So, it's getting people to be okay with failure, I suppose, and knowing that we're all going to be in those dark places, we're all going to be in those valleys, but we're also all going to get up those mountains as well. And we're going to be right at the top, right at the pinnacle, embracing the great stuff that happens in lives.
Oh, it's so inspiring. I totally agree with you. When you go through those tough times, it's hard to think that there is going to be better times, but it's just.
Yeah. I mean, you get so bogged down by the bad shit. You just don't need to be, because always, always, always around the corner, there's going to be the good stuff. But you've got to actually learn how to get through the challenges and how to deal with them, how to process them well, and how to bring others out of those, valleys as well with you. So, it's all about life's learnings, and it's incredibly important to have the balance. You need the good and the bad.
I agree. That's great. So what do you believe is your greatest success and why?
I suppose my greatest success have got to be my children.
Absolutely.
I mean, and for me, and for every woman, for every male, every female, it is always about your children. And for a brand like myself, there's been so much that has happened to me, so many accolades, so many awards, so many wonderful things that have been attached to this brand. And yet it will always be being a mum to Sam and Edward that is the sort of the measure of my own personal success for me, and how well I do that job, how entrenched I become within it, how I guide those two kids for the rest of their lives. And your job never really finishes. It's I'm always finding, whether it be, something that I want to ask mum about cooking, or, just stuff that she knows. I suppose we've got Google now anyway, but, it's always nice to kind of get an opinion from someone that really does care and know you so well.
Absolutely. So in your great success of raising your children, do you have a support system that have helped you along the way?
Yeah, not hugely. I sort of have been the Lone Ranger for a lot of that time, and I don't know why. Because I'm the queen of paying it forward, assisting others, working with others, mentoring, nurturing, and doing, and know how necessary that is. But I suppose my journey was very much about just me getting on and doing it. I was a mum. My first marriage was to a farmer, so we were on a farm, so it was pretty easy to share the childcare. I set up the business from home, so you can kind of manage kids. And make that work when you've got a man that's at home and you've got a business that's based at home. But, now I've got, different people around me, and obviously there's people that help me in the house, but that's only because I hate housework. I can just think of better stuff to do than, vacuuming. And I also own 2 white boxer puppies, and they shed hair, so there's white hair everywhere. So that would mean vacuuming. And I don't want to do that. So I have a wonderful girl looks after the dogs as well. So, and that's only because they're in the puppy stage and they can't be left at home, but they'll eventually get to the stage where they can be left at home. So I suppose now I more look for people that have knowledge or expertise in an area that I might be troubled with, or I might want some help with, and then I'll approach them and make it a lot more definitive, rather than a general mentor relationship where I'm asking someone to chew the fat with me every week or every fortnight or whatever it be. Not that I think that is the wrong way to go. It's just whatever floats your boat, I suppose.
Yeah.
Boat being the operative at the moment, but
rock your boat.
and also boat races, which have got tippy toes. But yeah, for me, it is about knowing what you need and going out there and getting the support. You don't have to be the Lone Ranger. You don't have to be the martyr to the cause. There's plenty of people that you can surround yourself with that will help. And that's not the measure of whether you're a good mum or not. I've always said that it is about it's about the quality of time you spend with children, not the quantity. There's a hell of a lot of people that are there with their children 24/7 and they're not doing a great job bringing up kids. So it's really about that quality time that you invest in them. and that's about your values.
That's right, because often as parents, we're often saying, oh, am I a good parent? Oh, am I a bad parent? That I think you've hit the nail on the head when you've said about quality time. You know, when you do spend time with your children, it's quality time. Would you agree?
Oh, no, absolutely. You've got to think about what you want to achieve. And for me, it was always about the values. It was always about the way that they treated other people. It was about the way that they lived their life. It was about the way that they tackled the challenges as they arose. You know, it was all about teaching them life skills, and giving them great values, making or ensuring that they were just great people, that treated other people well. You know, never really saw them as wanting to be, and never would want them to be too big for their boots, based around the success that I've enjoyed. You know, so it is about just creating great people that actually make very real contribution to their environment, and that has always been my goal with the kids, and I certainly believe I've achieved that.
I would have to agree with you there. That's fantastic. So, in your journey, you started off as a fashion designer, which you're still very successful at, but you've also gone into the magazine industry as well. Was there something that initiated that change?
Not really. You know, fashion itself was not something that I coveted as a small girl, you know, kind of having these big dreams of being in the industry and creating these fabulous frocks for all the right people. It was just a pathway that I happened to follow. I do have the left and right brain thing operating, so I kind of have that very sensible financial side, and I'm also a creator as well. So, you know, so I suppose fashion, when the opportunity arose, it was a really nice fit for me, and I was able to build it into a sustainable business, which is really, really important. The magazine seemed like a nice fit at the time, although last month or 2 months ago, we produced the last physical copy that we were going to produce. And that's kind of reflective of where everything's going. I mean, you know, this morning to watch the boat race, I was at the hairdressers. So I'm speaking tonight to sort of 100 women, so I wanted to look my best. And, you know, we live streamed the thing on the bloody iPad there.
Awesome.
So it doesn't matter where you're at, you know, at the digital age that we operate in now makes pretty much anything possible. So for us, it was about rethinking that physical copy that producing at considerable cost and reducing distribution out there, because there's, you know, the distribution or the distribution company that we've been working with has got a huge monopoly, and we were such a niche application, so bloody difficult to get it out. So there's lots of other ways that we can drive our own outcomes, and they are much better suited to a digital platform. So therefore, we've taken it to a much more interactive platform through website, Facebook, LinkedIn, and all that sort of thing. So still covering those great stories on New Zealand Woman, all that how-to information, all that stuff we've used to do or have never stopped doing, but certainly not through producing a physical issue that we're relying on other people to distribute and sell.
Awesome. I think that's very smart business. Good on you. That's great. So we've come to our bonus round. This is where I'm going to ask you, our wow round. This is where I'm going to ask you some quick questions, and you're going to come back with us with some amazing answers. Are you ready to inspire? No pressure. So what is your superpower?
My self-belief, the fact that I don't doubt myself, you know, like I've got a very strong colleague in Michael Hill, that is the Michael Hill, and it was a comment that he made to me where he said, you know, Anna, the big problem that most of us as New Zealanders have is doubt. And, you know, the thing is, I never doubt myself. And sure, there's things I can't achieve, there's pathways I can't follow. But for me, if I truly want to do it, I have this amazing self-belief, and I absolutely believe that I can do anything I set my mind to. So I am the superpower. What happens in my head actually generates the outcome, not only for me, but all those around me.
I love it. That's awesome. So when did you first visualize yourself as a fashion designer?
Yeah, I don't know if I ever did. You know, as I said to you in that earlier question, it was more a pathway that kind of got me there. It was an opportunity that presented. It was an ability to execute that business model. And then when I started down that journey, you know, I became very good at it very quickly. So it was an obvious fit for me. I mean, you know, to start a small company in its first year of operation from a farm 10 k's out of Morrinsville, which has got a population of 3,000 people, turn over $1 million and be 50% profitable.
Awesome.
I mean, shit. Kind of think, okay, I can do this. I'm good at this. This is a really good journey for me to take. So, you know, it was never a dream. It was just a moment in time where, once again, that self-belief was about, you know, hey, let's give this a go. What's the worst that can happen? Like I trip and fall and fail. Well, I didn't have it before, so if I don't have it at the end of it, it doesn't matter.
Good, such a great attitude. And what 3 qualities do you believe you have that have helped you be a success?
Passion, firstly. Even after 21 years in this business, I still love what I do. And that's the people that I work with, the product that I work with, the environment that I work in. So there's never a day that goes by that I drag my heels in there and think, oh my God, today is the day I sell this, or today is the day that I get rid of all these people around me and I just go back to being that sort of lone ranger. I never feel like that. I love it. I love it. I love it. The second thing is discipline. I have a really good discipline around getting things done. And most people don't have that. They flit around sort of trying to work out what needs to be ticked off and what needs to happen and get very little done. I'm a real doer. In a day, I know that of the 100% of stuff that's got to happen in my day, only 20% is really important. So I identify that 20%, and that's that 80-20 rule that a lot of people write about. Yeah, so I identify the 20% and I go, this is not negotiable. This has to happen. These people have to have these answers, and I make it happen. And I suppose that makes me seem incredibly efficient and effective to anyone around me, because the 80% sort of piffles along the side, people don't want anyway. It's just if you get to it, when you get to it, or when it moves into the 20%. So it actually becomes stuff that needs to be answered. So, and the last thing is integrity. I do business with heart. I like to think that I do business on a handshake still, and I will, and I do. But, it's so important for me to have the heart of my business. So it's about how you pay it forward, how you connect with others, how you grow others' dreams and visions. And, in the fashion industry, it can often always be about us because the brand is so media driven. I mean, everyone wants to know what fashion designers are doing, what's hot for next season, what they're wearing, what they're thinking. And, it's pretty shallow and it's pretty superficial. So for me, it's how I can take this business ability that I've built up over 21 years and drive some other creatives to think differently around building sustainable business models. So it's that integrity. So it's passion, discipline, and integrity.
It's truly inspiring. Now, what would you like? Sure is. Now, what would you like to be remembered for?
The legacy that I'd like to be remembered for is my, having a wise heart. So, having a heart is one thing, but having a wise heart. So you actually are channeling energy into areas that will make a difference, because there's a lot of people out there that are tire kickers and that waste time, and you can channel a lot of energy in there and never get anywhere. And that may be because they're not ready or they're just never really going to take that journey. But there's a hell of a lot of people that do need help, will get there, and just need sort of a little bit of input from someone like myself to drive that agenda of theirs forward. So for me, the legacy I want to leave is about the very real difference that I've made. And that's not only in the business community, it's with women and getting women to think differently around their life model. And it's also around animals. I have a real passion for treating animals differently in our own environments. There's too many people that are prepared to actually sacrifice animals for different causes, which I will never, ever do. So whether it be the sustainable farming of pigs and chickens, whether it be preventing the party pills being tested on those harmless and very beautiful little beagles, I will always find my voice around that. Whilst I'm not that radical activist that's going to be there throwing blood on your buildings, I'm certainly going to be quietly working in the background, encouraging more people to have a look at what's happening around different legislative changes and finding their voice where it's important to them. And that's what I'm encouraging people to do.
That's awesome, because of course animals can't speak for themselves, and being a person in your position, I really appreciate what your initiative and trying to bring awareness to that. So thank you.
Well, it's not just the animals. It's it's a lot of women too. They find themselves in relationships that are particularly difficult or challenging. They're not enjoying them. They may even be in dangerous situations because they're violent, and yet they don't drive the change. They consider it's their fault, their lot, their life. This is what they have to suck up, and that is not the case. So for me, it's how I get them to develop a much stronger voice, how I get them to believe in themselves, how I get them to trust that they can actually live a different life and they can drive this outcome themselves. So it's not just animals, it's everybody all around us that are making compromises on living the one life that we get and living it really, really well.
That's awesome. I really appreciate that. So what internet resource do you love right now?
I love Pinterest, I suppose, because I am in a creative industry. I love the fact that there's just this wonderful dossier of, or well, just an endless supply of beautiful images that so many creators all over the globe are constantly pinning. So anything that you're looking for, it certainly becomes almost the muse for my wedding collection. Not for my wedding collections, but we do. That's the use for any of the new collections. So we'll actually research under a theme. When we were doing the Alice in Wonderland show that we've just completed at Fashion Week, we looked at so much that actually pertained to Alice in so many different ways and interpretations. And, and through Pinterest, you can bring this all together. And it's just so exciting. So I totally love those visual abilities that operate digitally. Instagram's another great one, So and I found Snapchat the other day, which my kids use a lot, but it's just the sending of visual pictures rather than text and things like that. So being an artist as well, and having that sort of creative side of the brain functioning. So the visual digital platforms are the ones that I really do love. So Instagram as well, I love that. So.
That's great. And what book would you recommend to our listeners?
Well, I have to recommend my own books, don't I? Because
sure,
yeah. I've written 3 books. The first one I wrote is Rag Trade to Mag Trade, and that's all around the sort of the journey that I've taken. A lot of the students that are in fashion or looking at creative industries find it incredibly useful. So it's how I started, how I thought, why I did what, that whole journey that I took right through the 21 years that I've been in business, and how it all sort of played out, the highs and the lows. Then I went on to write Wise Heart about 3 or 4 years later, and that was all around the strategies that I engage in to actually deal with when the going gets tough, the successes, the people around me, the way that I actually think. So I identified 10 things that I do that I think set me apart from other people that are operating out there in the business and in life. How is it that I deal with stuff? So, and that's been probably my best-selling book to date. I think we sold 5,000 copies, which is excellent for a book in this country. So, and Rock the Boat launched last week, and that was all about just getting women, especially, to find their voice. So I kind of talked to and looked at some of the scenarios that I find myself in that people usually run from. They won't I suppose they won't tackle the tough stuff. And for me, it's really important that we tackle the tough stuff, because that's the stuff we grow from. It's the confrontation, and confrontation can be positive too. It can get really good outcomes if you approach it in a certain way. So for me, it's how I get women to know that they can live a great life, they can live a long life, and they can really drive toward their dream and vision. Everyone can, not just me, not just people that have got, what would appear to be, well-trained minds and sort of advanced tertiary learnings and backgrounds. It's everyone, and it's never too late to start. So for me, Rock the Boat was all about getting people to find their voice, getting people to drive change. It's so important. So those books are the ones that I obviously am going to recommend, and they're all very current, and we've just reprinted Wise Heart, and at the moment we're offering Rock the Boat and Wise Heart as a 2-for-1 offer. So
awesome.
Lots of good things happening around space.
That's great. We can definitely have that information on our website under your profile as well. So that's really great. And what are you excited about right now? Of course, you've got your Rock the Boat, but also you've got a latest collection. Is that?
Yeah, there's all sorts of stuff that keeps happening in my life. I'm working with one of the tertiary institutes or the university in Auckland and looking at, and this isn't finalised yet, but these are the types of things that sort of come into my space now. And I believe when you go out there and you put yourself out there and you offer that hand of assistance and help in different areas that you're passionate about, stuff comes back that is interesting. And for me, I'm looking at going back to India. I was up there last year with the British High Commissioner. We went as part of an 8-strong delegation of very capable New Zealand women. This time I'm going up to work with some of the Indian creatives around the fashion business and just work and I suppose teach them some of the stuff that I know about driving sustainable business within the New Zealand environment or within the Western world, because obviously my learnings pertain to the Western world rather than the Asian world. But, there's lots of stuff happening around me. Yes, the collections are exciting, but, the collections are pretty routine too, because we have to put 2 collections out. every year, because that's part of what we do. And there's probably 4 collections because we have the Annahs and the Anna Stretton label. But for me, it's all the peripheral stuff that happens around it. I've just been invited to speak up in Belfast, which was a conference that Hillary Clinton spoke at. So we're locking in sort of what that'll look and feel like. I mean, these are all just opportunities that are playing out in my environment at the moment, and that's exciting. So
Absolutely.
for me, the global platform is the important thing for me. It enables a much bigger reach, even things like we're doing now. I mean, you don't know who's going to be looking at this. You don't know who's going to be watching this. I mean, it blew me away to think the people that are looking at my blog, about 30% of them are coming from the States.
Yeah.
The States and Canada. Who would have thought? I mean, I'm not even here. So, people find stuff. They connect with stuff. So it's, it's really important, I believe, to look at all sorts of different opportunities and enter into a whole lot of different conversations. And not only for the good of some of the platforms that people are operating, like yourself, where you're wanting to reach and help a specific demographic, but also for your own personal brand, especially if you've got a message that you want to keep carrying out into the market.
That's great. It's so inspiring, and I just love how you're planning a legacy, with what you're excited about at the moment, taking things over to India and the university as well. It's really awesome. Really appreciate that. So our last question is really to help our mums and dads who are perhaps really good at design. They've got a little collection of designer clothes, but they'd really like to take it to the next level. Do you have some tangible steps that they could take to help them to come up to the next level? So.
Yeah, I think it's one of the hardest industries to get in. I really do. I mean, and so many people see it as an easy point of entry because it's often driven by people that are surrounding them, which say, I love what you wear, or you're really good at this, or you can. I'm sure this stuff would sell. I'd buy it, and Susie would buy it, and Mary would buy it, and that's often your closest friends and your mother. I mean, that doesn't quite be a business model. So the thing with fashion is that a lot of people seem to think too that celebrities will drive the outcomes that you're going to get. We don't have a celebrity culture in New Zealand. So if we have a red carpet event, it certainly doesn't announce whose designs they're wearing. I mean, the closest we get now is there's some credits that's coming up on 7 Sharp when Ali Mao's wearing some of the designers' gear. But otherwise we don't really see sort of acknowledgement of what our presenters or what our celebrities are wearing. So, from the point of view of setting up a small business in fashion, and ostensibly it will be small because most of them don't last for more than 6 months a year because they are difficult. They're cash hungry. They really are. And that it does require a lot of knowledge and expertise and finance to actually bring garments to market. But I think the internet is your friend, and that you are able to get small business models working relatively quickly and cost effectively, especially if you've got good Facebook feeds and digital social media platforms that you can start to operate or start to actually work with other people that have like-minded friends and connections that they'll let you share information across. So the digital platforms are probably the better way to go if you're looking at a small collection. I often find too, young people have a whole lot of different people around that can do some wonderful things through video that enable things to actually, if you look at Gangnam Style and how quickly something as crude as that.
Amazing, yeah.
I mean, you don't have to be Madonna and manage through every stage of your career anymore. You can just have a dream. There's a woman that I follow a lot, Daily Grace. She does this sort of daily thing on it's humorous and it's light and it's funny, but, she's getting 500,000 views each time she puts up her Freaky Friday videos, and she's fully managed. And, that just never would have happened before. So I think, there are opportunities through digital. Don't look at setting up a small store on a strip, sitting there on your stool behind the counter and hoping that people will walk in and buy your gear, because it just ain't going to happen anymore. So, and the other thing is you've got to ascertain that you've got to market. If you're going to go out there and produce a product for a market, there's hundreds of fashion designers out there. You're very unlikely to ever make it to a global stage. I think Karen Walker's our only real success story. But then, I watched a music video on Lords the other night, the And I thought, oh my God, so you just don't know if you take it to a creative digital platform as to the type of reach that you'll get. So we don't have to use those traditional pathways of getting goods to market anymore. But, make sure that you know that when you go into the fashion industry, it's 80% about the business of fashion and 20% about the creative outputs that you're going to put into the market. So you've got to know about the business, and that's about the marketing of the concept that you're putting together, the people that you're going to recruit, and just how you're going to go, what that business is going to look like, what those products are going to look like, what those services are going to look like. So, there's a lot in there, but ostensibly it is one hell of a hard market to get into. So know which products and services, know how you're going to get out and pitch it, and think digital, not physical site. That's certainly becoming a very difficult and archaic way to retail.
Oh, that is sound advice. Thank you so much, Anna. That was brilliant. Now, before we say goodbye, would you like to share some final inspiring words to our mums and dads, and then perhaps how we can get in touch or follow you?
Well, I think hopefully I've given you lots of inspiring sort of gems. For me, it is about sitting really comfortably in your own skin. It's about trusting and believing in yourself. It's about not caring what others say about you or about the direction that you're heading in. You've got to go out there and try stuff. You've got to take risks. You've got to be okay about tripping and falling. Whoever learned to ski without falling over? You've got to try stuff. So it is about that trust, that sitting comfortably in your own skin and not doubting yourself. Sometimes you will call it wrong, but so what? If you get it wrong, you just pick yourself up, you dust yourself off, and you have another go at something. And life's a hell of a lot more exciting when you play it that way. One of the sayings that I love is one of Richard Branson's, which says, the brave may not live forever, but the cautious have not lived at all. And I think that kind of sums up the way that I live my life and the way that I feel others should be living their life as well. Life is for living. We get one go at it. And no one really knows what happens when we're 6 feet under. We don't know if we come back or if we live in another place in that wonderful universe that surrounds us. We have no idea. So get out there and live the 70 or 80 odd years that you've been afforded now. Make it a great life. And, to contact me, I'm probably one of the easiest people to contact. You just type in my name and don't forget to put the H on Anna. And, you'll get all my websites. I have my own personal website, which is just annastretton.me. I have the fashion website, which is annastretton.com. All of the books have a website, so they're all just wiseheart.me, rocktheboat.me, and I don't think Ragtrade has a website, but LinkedIn, Facebook, all of those. I think people are pretty easy to get hold of. It's I suppose incredibly capable people. You don't know who's managing their websites, and obviously a lot of our Facebook platforms are managed, but that doesn't mean that the messages won't get through to me. And the authenticity around those platforms is really about me being on there every so often, and I know how important that is, and it's often me engaging in that dialogue as well, not the team that run those sites. So for me, I'm very, very millennium in the approach that I have to the digital space, but we're very easy to get hold of.
That's fantastic, and we'll have those in the notes of how people can get in touch with you as well. And I just want to say thank you so much, Anna, for the time that you've allowed and the generosity of what you've shared. You've just shared a wealth of knowledge, and I really appreciate it. You've truly inspired our mums and dads, and we just wish you all the best for your journey ahead. Thank you.
Thanks, Sarah.
That was the first episode of The Parentalist, and I hope you really enjoyed it. Please go over to theparentalist.com and send a thank you tweet out to Anna. It's as quick as clicking a button, and I know she'll appreciate it. Also, if you could go to iTunes and write a review for us for The Parentalist, that would actually mean the world to me. But yeah, you know what? Have a great week. Have a great weekend, because you know what? You're pretty great. See ya.